Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central on a Friday. Thank God it's Friday. So many things to unpack and to dissect. Looking at the news cycle in the last 24 hours. And trust us, to do that here on Breakfast Central, the best way to start your day. I am Gbenga Aborowa. Welcome to today's show. It's, bumper. And we have quite a lot to go through.
That's right. We're saying welcome to Breakfast Central. It's TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Yesterday, so many things, like Gbenga said, to unpack. But we're welcoming our viewers and our audience to please feel free to communicate and keep the conversation going. You can actually drop a comment or two. We're streaming live on YouTube. You can also find us live on Facebook, X, and the likes. But today, the stories unfold, and we're here to unpack each and every single one of them. My name is Joe Hansen. Olive is around the corner. She joins us pretty soon. But let's start off with a very big story, right from yesterday. It was a long conversation and a long day in court, which has spanned over 4 years and counting. And eventually it ended yesterday. Although the lawyers have come out to say that they will appeal the judgment. But then again, let's tell you about what it's all about. It's a case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, which eventually came to an end for many. The court convicted him. It was life imprisonment, especially for terrorism. That was what was said as well. This was when he took to the stand to speak first. Right before we wrapped up breakfast yesterday, and then he decided to go out of hand
all the way to the afternoon.
Yeah, all the way. But let's get to listen to how it started off. Just take a listen to how it started. In the meantime, Gbenga, let's not forget that this was going to be a big decision that will be made by the courts. There were expectations.
We had our correspondent Joshua Emerai, who was there throughout the proceedings at the Federal High Court in Abuja yesterday, and it was filled with drama. There was a particular time where Mazi Nnamdi Kanu lost his temper, and Justice Omotosho ordered security operatives in the courts to escort him out of the chambers because he was acting in an unruly manner before he calmed down, and they had to stop proceedings for a while, and then he came back. It was quite a long day. We went through his rap sheet, and then before the judgment was delivered. And it's led to intense debate on social media and, of course, across the political sphere. Some feel he was that there was a miscarriage of justice. On the other side, people feel, this is justice served and deserved for the lives that have been lost due to his insightful statements and what have you. But trust Nigerians to react, and we'll bring you their reactions as we speak. But let's take a listen to
Let's see how it started. Yeah, starting from here.
It all started, yes.
You are the one running their case for them. Let them show me that the Constitution, show me where it says you can waive my right to family meeting address. And I'll sit down.
You have the right to appeal after...
No, my lord. This is a perversion of the cause of justice. This is not law. It is not law.
Can you excuse me?
My lord, I cannot excuse nullity and illegality.
Can you let him
it's not possible. It is not possible, my lord. You must show me where the Constitution says you have the right to waive my written address. You must show me.
Excuse me.
Show me. Show me where it says so. Show me. Show me where it says so.
Excuse him.
Is that why you brought the cameras? Is that why you brought them today?
Please.
You didn't bring it before. You brought it today?
Please.
Show me where it says you can try me on a repeat law. Show me.
Please.
Show me where it says you can try me on a repeat law. I said, show me. Show me.
Excuse me.
Show me.
Get the microphone from him.
No, leave it. Leave it. Leave it. I said, leave it. It's a court of law. I'm under trial. I'm under trial. I have to speak. I am under trial and I have to speak. Listen to me, please. I am under trial. I am under trial. I am under trial, and I must address the court.
I hereby sentence the convicts to life imprisonment for the said counts 1, 4, 5, and 6 instead of death sentence. Life is sacred to God. With respect to count 3, he is hereby sentenced to 20 years imprisonment without no option or fine. For count 7, he is sentenced to 5 years imprisonment without no option or fine. To extend the mercy, I hereby order that the sentence shall run concurrently. And due to the nature of the offenses that borders on terrorism, and
today is the only day I have witnessed a man being convicted for mere puffery, for what he said from his mouth, not what he did with his own hands. The verdict is not consistent with the evidence laid before the court. The sentence is overbroad, cruel, and unusual. How can you convict a man for making mere broadcasts from a location that was never named, and he never tied that broadcast to any single incident of violence, or even someone slapping someone, not to talk of terrorism? You did all this, you didn't lay any evidence. I don't know where this whole verdict can be grounded in law, logic, or facts. We disagree with the judgment vehemently, and we are going to fight it from here onwards until justice is done.
The detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a clear example. In 2022, Nigeria's Court of Appeal struck down the charges against him and ordered his release. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention has also called for his unconditional release. Yet he remains in solitary confinement, in deteriorating health, and recently had to represent himself in court. Nigeria has signaled that the law is optional and targeting.
And look at where we are today in Nigeria. Look at where we are. Nigeria is in the throes of some of its worst security situation. And this is what we are wasting our time doing. You know, we have 35 Christians at the time that we have been accused of persecution of Christians in the bush, attacked by terrorists who were live streamed. You have 25 female students, Muslims, also in the bush with terrorists. You have an army general who has just been murdered by terrorists. You are not focused on that. You are trying Nnamdi Kanu because he carried the microphone to say that he wants Biafra. The only evidence they have in this court is a microphone that they found with him when he was arrested in Lagos. His underwear, top and bottom. There is no evidence of a gun or an RPG. He was not found with police uniforms. Whereas in Katsina, someone killed an assistant commissioner of police, kept his uniform and wore the uniform to a peace conference, the so-called peace conference. And nothing is done about it. They bring their magazines and their AK-47s and their anti-aircraft guns to meetings. You can't do anything about them, but it's a guy who wears a nice Fendi and a microphone and says, we want justice. 10 years, you can't figure it out. Anytime the person opening the door to a civil court is a military man, that's no longer a civil trial. That one has become a court martial. And this case, as a result, has suffered that credibility from day one. Apart from other problems, one of which is the kidnapping, what is known as the extraordinary rendition of Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya. You cannot cure that. You cannot cure the absence of evidence. You cannot cure every other problem you brought upon yourself in this case from day one. And that's what we have told them. And in general, because this is also foundational to Nigeria,
Nigeria is in search of unity, they claim. Nigeria is in search of nationhood because it has never become a nation. If you want to make that happen, you do justice to all the components of Nigeria. You don't discriminate against somebody because his name is somebody you don't like, or because it's really.
Well, that's the reactions that you will get from different quarters concerning the sentencing, which happened yesterday by Justice James Omotosho. Well, Omoyele Sowore has spoken. You also had Nnamdi Kanu's legal as well. They've spoken. But guys, it's finally done.
So the concern with the sentencing of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is the fact that, just like Omoyele Sowore had expressed, there have been people who have committed grave acts of terrorism. But what do? We bring in Sheikh Gumi. He negotiates peace deals, agreements with them. He makes excuses and gives us reasons why you would see that these bandits and terrorists are doing what they're doing. We hear that they are being de-radicalized. They're brought back into the society. Their children are given access to education. They're being taken proper care of. What we see is bandits who go on TikTok displaying their guns and the cash that they have. Until today, have we heard of any of the arrests of all these bandits on social media who are brandishing their weapons and brandishing the money that they're receiving? What we see is a country where people have accepted that kidnapping is the order of the day, where in the NYC handbook, it is reported that they were giving you guidelines on how to act if you're being kidnapped. Not to argue with not to argue with the kidnappers, not to give them much information about yourself. I saw that, that document, and I was scared to my bones to say that we've gotten to this level in our society. That is what we have. And these kidnappers and bandits and terrorists, they are treated with kids' gloves. So the question is, couldn't there have been a different way to handle this, especially because Nigeria's court in 2022 had given a judgment that had said Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should be released from detention. Are we saying that the Nigerian state is above the law? Are we saying now, at that time in 2022, that the courts did not apply, the judgment of the court did not apply, but in 2025, the court's judgment will apply? So can we then pick and choose what is right and what isn't? So if we're saying, for example, that we're sentencing him to life imprisonment, one would hope and expect that that is the same kind of treatment that is given to all the bandits and all the terrorists around the country, and it doesn't look like some form of selective justice. This is concerning. It's concerning because there could have been maybe, like they've said, a political way to deal with this situation, especially because the Southeast governors, they had all said, they've talked about it, they've come together. So good for the goose is good for the gander. If you would say that you're giving negotiations and options out for the bandits and terrorists who actually carried out the attacks by themselves, maybe that's, many would argue that that sort of mercy or leniency should have been applied to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
Anyway, I'm sure Gbenga has been highlighting some of the major Gbenga. I mean, you've been deep in thoughts.
I mean, like we always say here, two things can be right at the same time, and two things can be true. And
two truths can coexist.
Two truths can coexist, and you could do multiple things at the same time. The previous government under President Buhari was the one that started this carrot and stick approach and non-kinetic means, rehabilitating bandits. And looking at the luxury of hindsight, we can tell how that went, that there's absolutely no sense in it, because they will go back and they will hold the nation ransom. It was an idea that shouldn't have seen the light of day, because we're dealing with the consequences today. Having said that, I mean, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu had his right to a lawyer. He waived at that, decided to
represent himself.
Defend himself. And during the trial, there were audio tapes that were played of him broadcasting via Radio Biafra, calling for the burning of airports, the destruction of people, the killing of policemen, and he also said that their cops should be beheaded. He said really terrible things, inciting violence. And, the prosecution also used one of the IPOB commanders as a star witness. When you don't represent yourself in court, giving the full arsenal of your SANS and your defense team, I guess you're just setting yourself up for what you get. And let's also remember, Aloy Ejimakor in his statement said, he was punished for mere words. These are mere words. Words are very powerful. When you're calling for the end of someone's life and you're doing it passionately, we also remember lessons in history. Radio, television, Mill Collins, RTML radio. Felicien Kabuga was sentenced to life imprisonment in the International Court of Justice for his role in inciting violence via RTML radio during the Ugandan genocide, calling them cockroaches, and he made these statements, referring to different ethnic groups in Nigeria, using disparaging words to describe an entire group of people. So when people paint him as a Mandela, I don't think he's a Mandela. There's nothing nation building or unifying. And no one is saying, look, you cannot agitate for the wrongdoings of your people. You have representatives. There are other ways to go about it. But when you're inciting violence, when you're disparaging entire communities of people, of course, there will be consequences for that. When you call for policemen to be killed, for them to be beheaded, of course, the government is not going to sit back and relax.
I'm not holding brief for him or saying that it's okay for him to call for the police to be beheaded or for the police to be killed. What the sentiment we see expressed is the fact that the ones who have actually carried out
he should not allow himself, do not allow yourself to be used as a scapegoat. Don't look at other people and say, oh, the bandits are doing this. It's a failure on the part of the government not to deal decisively with the issue of bandits and those carrying RPGs and having peace meetings. They should be exterminated. That's another issue. So face your own issue. You will set yourself up to be used as a scapegoat. And you did all these things they're accusing you of doing. There's evidence, so deal with the consequences. But the good thing is he has a right to appeal.
Yes, he does.
Sure, they will appeal. So we'll see how that.
And then again, Justice Omotosho also did mention that he can be kept in any protective custody around within the country. He doesn't have to be in Kuje prison in Abuja. So if they decide to move him to the southeast, he can move there and then he can be kept there.
If they
decide to move him
nobody's moving him to
the middle belt.
I don't know that
whichever way they want to move him.
They won't do that.
He can.
They won't move him to the southeast because they understand that
because
that's
of course
a
there will be
risk for them.
Yeah.
Because there have been agitations in the Igbo are visibly agitated by.
But he mentioned anywhere in Nigeria. So
you think the Nigerian correctional services would do that? I doubt it.
The Igbo don't seem very pleased with what has happened and the judgment that was given by Justice Omotosho. And there have been reactions in a few quarters. One of them is one who's popular on social media, businessman and entrepreneur, Cubana chief priest, who wrote an open letter to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He says, as long as MNK remains in jail, you cannot and will never get up to 10,000 votes in Southeast come 2027. I will not lie to you, Papa. As a friend of your government, I have no reason to whitewash you. MNK is the supreme leader of Southeast. His detention has caused us so much setback. And I'm so surprised that all your ministers from Southeast can't even tell you the truth because anyway, I'll skip. He says none of them has the capacity and can do anything to make the people love and respect you. As for governors, they will all disappoint you because they will tell us absolute nothing. Only MNK release can save you. Actually, Tinubu, all those people on that table with you at Delbro Hotel the other day are just bags of deceit, including me. I like that he didn't exclude himself. They can't do anything for you. They can't even go to their hometowns because of MNK detention. So how can they help you? They only want lands from you to develop and sell. You know me, I don't need anything from you. Villa na hotel, na few more days. Your checkout time will reach. And only MNK can guarantee you real votes from Southeast. Look out for Governor Alex Oti. He can convince people genuinely. Also, I was surprised when he missed his invitation to commission his project in Abia, where MNK hails from. Ashwaju sends, Anyway, I'll skip.
I mean, I don't even know why we're taking this. Who is Cubana chief priest?
He's a.
I mean, look at the way he's even typing. There are consequences for behavior. If you act in a certain way outside the law, you deal with it. I don't understand this gaslighting.
So why maybe we're taking Cuba, or why we're taking Cubana's Cubana chief priest's reaction is, one, he's a Nigerian. Two, he's from the southeast.
I don't think he has the right to speak for Igbo people in general.
But don't forget
that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is the supreme leader of all Igbos in Nigeria.
But don't forget too, Gbenga, that
who made him supreme leader?
But don't forget too that he's a major supporter of this administration.
I understand.
And there have been talks linking him to be very close to this administration, whereby they feel that he would not speak when this case has been resolved. But finally, he's actually one out of many whom a lot of the Southeasterners are expecting to speak. They never even expected him.
Yes, they applaud him. If you go to the comment section,
they're expecting the governors. They're expecting
but his statement is not coherent.
And so on. Yeah,
why is he typing like that? The content of a statement. How do you? I mean, do you expect the president to subvert the law and just ask them to release him?
Not really.
Yeah.
But then again, there's.
What about the victims? People that have died as a result. You know, there were uniformed personnel, two Nigerian army
killed, many of them.
People died as a result of this statement.
Many of them.
And they're acting like it's a victimless crime. It's not a Mandela.
And then there's this Monday sit-at-home issue as well that did come up from
exactly.
But there were times when he came out to denounce the sit-at-home order. There were times when he had spoken expressly
that he wasn't
to denounce it and ask them to stop it. Yes,
and there was an audio recording of him saying if anybody steps out on a Monday, that they should kill the person.
You know what this basically shows us?
Yeah.
That fundamentally there is a discontent. And we cannot ignore that there is a discontent among the southeastern.
And calling for people to be killed, is that the right way to go about it?
I said that
never.
I'm not saying that it's right, but we can't deny. This goes back to what I said yesterday. We oftentimes treat symptoms without going to the root of the problem. There is obviously a discontent by Igbo in Nigeria who feel they've been marginalized and haven't been heard. It's why many of them will make a hero out of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, because he seems to be championing the cause of the equality of Igbo or the cessation of the Igbo tribe. But we are not the ones who are going to share with you what this is. We've shared, different thoughts from different corners. But let's head to X and see what Nigerians are saying. Nefertiti says, a Yoruba Muslim convicted an Igbo Christian on trumped-up charges bordering on terrorism. Nnamdi Kanu has become another prisoner of selective judgment and judicial rascality. Let history remember. The next tweet is from Ahmad El Khalil. He says, they created the problem and then later offered to help, and they capitalized on it. I'm not sure what he's talking about here. This one is replying to someone. He says, I doubt if you are aware of how core northern Nigeria works. Some of us have lived the realities, and I believe many have also done the same. Can we please go back there? I'm not yet done with that tweet. He says, okay, anyway, let's move on. Chidebere says, with all the destruction that various Islamic terrorist groups have inflicted on Nigeria over the years, it is troubling that not a single major perpetrator has been publicly tried or convicted for terrorism. Yet, today, under a government led by a Muslim president and vice president, and before a Muslim judge, a Christian has been convicted on trumped-up charges of terrorism. The disparity raises serious questions about fairness, balance, and the credibility of our justice system, and the impartiality of Muslim-led government. Justice loses its moral force when it appears selective, when those who have unleashed violence on the nation roam free while dissenting voices are prosecuted. It becomes difficult for citizens to trust that the law is being applied without bias. A nation cannot survive on unequal justice. For Nigeria to move forward, justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. I think it's Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes that said that. Transparently and without prejudice. Full stop. Okay, let's take one more. Comedian Kuboku says, Nnamdi Kanu sentenced. No, he wasn't sentenced to death, please. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. But Sheikh Gumi is a celebrity. I just hope the government knows what they're doing. How can I explain this? The presidency organized rehabilitation for Boko Haram, who have caused more terror and killed thousands, including women and children, also cleared them to join the army. But sentences Nnamdi Kanu
I mean, where this guy is getting, this report
for fighting to death, it's not death, for fighting to protect his people. Given the level of unrest, incitement, and violence that escalated under his movement, from enforced sit-at-home orders to attacks linked to armed factions claiming loyalty to him, what alternative sentence do you believe the church should have considered? With the lives lost, communities destabilized, and the wave of fear his rhetoric contributed to across the Southeast, what punishment would you say fits the weight and consequences of his actions?
I want to say well done to Oluwatobilola. I think this is the crux of the matter. We can sit down here and we can talk about the justice system. We can talk about the sentencing and so on. But the question, the biggest question all Nigerians should ask is, what would have been the right judgment? What could have been the right judgment? What could have been the judgment that would indeed settle
according to Kubana Chief Priest, you should have just opened the doors and let him.
So I think the majority of the arguments would be
that's the biggest question here.
Must come with clean hands. In this case, can we say that the federal government has acted with clean hands regarding Nnamdi Kanu's case? We can't also say, can we also say completely that Nnamdi Kanu is with clean hands? That's one, right? So both parties have liabilities on either party, would argue.
But I mean...
then you look at Simon Ekpa, who was also accused of,
inciting
participating
terrorism,
in
fights, and all,
incitement to commit crimes. How many years was he sentenced to? 6 years.
6 years.
Finland is different from Nigeria, and we're comparing apples and oranges. The gravity of their crimes are different.
They were both leaders.
No, one was in exile, the other one was here, and they actively carried out his orders, and we saw clear and present results of that. To show you the gravity and the seriousness of how the Finnish justice system works. It wasn't even here. It was all the way in Finland, and he still got convicted for 6 years.
Yeah. The judges said that he
was just speaking according to Aloy Ejimako. It was just mere words. So why would he be convicted for mere words in Finland when he wasn't even in Nigeria?
Anyway, we can't exhaust this conversation, but just to mention, since we're talking about Aloy Ejimako, Simon Ekpa, right? The judge said he was more than just a commentator. He was an influential member of a militant separatist movement whose goal was Biafran independence. And according to the ruling, he equipped the groups with weapons, explosives, and ammunition through his contact.
Nnamdi Kanu called for donation for weapons I'm
pointing that out because you're saying that they're both very separate.
We just need to start the show, but I think this has set the tone where we have very critical questions to ask. They're not much. What could have been the right justice in this matter?
What would justice mean in this case?
What would justice mean in this case? That's one. Two, when you... Don't worry, there are many. If I go on, we'll keep going.
Let's get to top story, but before
we have some guests joining us.
Let's also ask our guests, our viewers watching virtually. We're streaming live on YouTube, News Central Live. Please go there and drop a comment and let us know your thoughts regarding this. Whilst we take comments from X, we also take comments from our YouTube live chat. So we want to see your comments in the chat box. But now let's share what our headlines this morning are.
Court sentences Nnamdi Kanu to life imprisonment. Nigeria lacks capacity to protect citizens, says U.S. Congressman. And federal government allegedly ignored Kebbi attack warnings. Wike blasts PDP leadership. And of course, we bring you the newspaper front pages much later during the course of the show. Breakfast Central continues shortly.